For more on the fallout from the Supreme Court striking down the president's tariffs program, let's bring in Georgia Republican Congressman Buddy Carter, a member of the House Budget Committee. Congressman, good of you to be with us. So the president wants to issue now 15% global tariffs. What do you think about that idea?
Well, first of all, I think it's a great idea. However, let me tell you, the Supreme Court got it wrong. I disagree with their decision. I think it is wrong. And I agree with Judge Kavanaugh. They have created a mess. They have created economic uncertainty. Look at what this president has done. He has used this tool in his tool chest to our advantage. He's protected the American worker. He has brought investment into America. He's decreased our trade deficit almost 17%. He has utilized this in such a way that it has benefited us. And now the Supreme Court is taking it away from them. That's why I say they've gotten it wrong. Not only has he increased and improved our economy, but he's also used it in other ways. He has made sure and actually negotiated world peace. If you remember back in the deal between India and Pakistan, two nuclear nations, he actually used tariffs as a tool in his tool chest to negotiate that deal. You can make the argument he saved lives with the tariffs. And now the Supreme Court, again, has created a mess.
But is it possible that Congress would take up the issue and perhaps delegate to the president some of those powers that the Supreme Court says he doesn't have right now?
Certainly, I'd be in favor of that. If that president wants us to do that, I'd be in favor of it. And we would I would try to do my best to help him achieve that goal. But the Supreme Court, again, they got it wrong. And it's really unfortunate that they made this wrong decision.
Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, who has presidential aspirations himself, or so it is widely believed, is sending the White House an invoice for, let's see, $8.679 billion in change for the tariffs that he says were illegally imposed. What do you say to the governor?
Well, the governor, you know, it's about as valuable as the paper that it's written on. So he knows what he can do with that piece of paper. But at the same time, again, the Supreme Court has taken away a valuable tool. Yes, it brought billions of dollars into our economy at a time when we needed it. It brought investment into our economy, trillions of dollars that we've been able to have invested in our company and our country as a result of these tariffs. An important tool in the tool chest that the Supreme Court has now taken away.
Let's turn our attention to Iran for just a moment. Obviously, the tensions are pretty thick right now. The president says there's still time for the mullahs there to make a deal. Mike Huckabee, the former governor of Arkansas and ambassador to Israel, says it's quite clear that Iran is still trying to build a nuclear weapon. Listen.
We know that they're continuing to try to enrich uranium. They haven't given up on it. Yes, so we know that they have not scrapped their program and said, yeah, we don't really need this after all. We also know that they are building up at an alarming rate their ballistic missile capacity. That's not a defensive posture. They're not doing that to defend themselves.
If he's right, then the Iranians have not learned the lesson of Operation Midnight Hammer when their nuclear facilities were attacked.
And that's unfortunate because they're fixing to learn an important lesson if they don't cooperate. You know, say what you will about this president. You may not like what he says, but you can bet the farm that he means what he says. And he means this. And Iran better take heed of this, because if they don't, he is going to make sure that they suffer. And it will be so unfortunate. The president's made it clear, you've got to come to the table. You've got to negotiate. We've got to negotiate a nuclear deal. You've got to stop killing protesters. You've got to stop funding terrorism. All of those things are things that Iran needs to understand. This president means what he says.
So would you expect that if there is going to be kinetic action in Iran, that it's going to be much more dispersed, much larger than Operation Midnight Hammer was, those attacks on the nuclear sites?
Well, it certainly appears it's going to be. Our hope, and I'm sure the president's hope, is that it doesn't escalate to that point. Our hope is that Iran will come to their senses and recognize and realize that they need to go negotiate. And I think the point that has been made is an important point, and that is the president has said, you know, the people of Iran, they don't want this. It's the Ayatollahs. These are the ones who are bringing this about, and that's so very unfortunate.
Republican Congressman Buddy Carter of Georgia. Congressman, we're going to be watching that situation and have you back on again soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.